Buongiorno, I am Lucifer, and today we have in the, I want to say studio, but it's really just Discord, we've got Paranoid DJ. Oh yeah. Alright, so let me find my streaming screen. Where's the helicast? Where is it? There it is. Oh bugger, hang on, one of these. Oh no, it's showing up. I just need to make it bigger. Alright! So let's hop in there and say hello to everybody. So
No, not really.
Okay, so everyone's in and we're on. Well, alright. Anyone want to say hello?
Hello! That would be a good start, yeah.
You interrupted me, I was trying to cry.
I did say I was starting. But anyway, yeah, so we got people in the chat. Ooh, we've got someone here called Daft Punk as well. Lovely.
Rip. Big rip for Daft Punk.
I know, but it's fine, Me and Grizzy are gonna do a revival thing, because I did write some music originally that was based on Daft Punk, that was going to be a Valentino song, but because of what happened with Daft Punk, I've decided to just like turn it into a rendition now instead.
Yeah, I can understand that. I was so upset when at first they put out that video and I was thinking, oh, it's like a teaser for a new album, and then nope, we're gone.
I believe it's from a movie, actually.
Yeah, I think it's from like an old film they did years ago. Yeah, and at the end of the film they actually do just blow up like that.
Yep.
So
Aww.
Sucks.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Like I said to you before, I'm in like a little group with like musicians, and one of them was like a massive Daft Punk fan. His channel was actually called Daft X Punk 77 for like 10 years. So it hit him really bad.
Yeah, rude awakening.
Indeed. Okay, so would you like to introduce yourself? I've told people who you are, but if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your channel, and then everyone in there will know, although to be honest a majority of these people are going to know who you are anyway.
Well, I'd hope so, otherwise I'd be quite curious as to who's watching what I do. So for those who don't know, I go by Paranoid DJ. You might remember me from such classics as all those dubs and songs that people have kind of been frothing a little bit over. Yeah, I primarily do sound design and comic dubbing and music covers, primarily based around Hazbin and hell of a content at the moment, but branching out into other things and trying out other franchises and series where I can, and that's kind of what I do and what I'm known for. I mean, I was on YouTube for a long time before that doing other musical renditions, but it wasn't until I started doing the dubs that people started taking notice, so thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a very similar thing happened to me. I remember I told you before, I have another music channel where I do like soundtracks and stuff, like Dragon Ball stuff mostly, but it's like a mixture of other things, including my own original music that I make. But when I made this new channel and started doing Hazbin, this one blew up quicker than my original channel, which already had 15,000 subs. It's just mad. This fandom is just crazy.
Yeah, it's one of the things that kind of drew me to it, is that you see it allowed people to just be so creative in what they were doing with music and voice acting and artwork and everything like that. It's just kind of encouraged a lot, which I always appreciated, so I kind of was like, I want to contribute to that from the beginning of it, I suppose.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what got all of us into it as well. So I've also got Blissiful in the chat.
Hello!
And Grizzy, as you can see on the screen.
Hello!
There they are. Alrighty. Okay, so what got you into Hazbin? Are you into Hell of a Boss as well, by the way?
Yes, definitely Hell of a Boss as well. Obviously came later than that. In terms of my introduction to Hazbin, I actually didn't know it existed until about a month after the pilot came out.
Oh, wow.
Dragon Scale, who you've heard the voice of helping me with some of the earlier dubs and some of the other ones where I needed a female voice. I've known her for the good part of like 15 years, so whenever she sends me something that she thinks I'll like, she'll usually be in the ballpark of saying you like this. And one day she messaged me out of the blue and she was like, you need to see this, it's the best thing ever. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a watch, and the rest is history, to be honest.
Wow.
I finished watching the pilot and I was like, okay, I now need to let this consume my soul, and it quickly did. But yeah, up until that point I wasn't keeping up to date with, you know, Hazbin existing as something that had been in production for years or anything like that. I just didn't know about it. I was vaguely aware of who Vivzipop was, and I was vaguely aware of I think I'd remember seeing a design for Angel, one of his really, really early ones years back, but I thought it was just like, oh, it's a original character thing or whatever. I didn't realize it was a part of a big thing until much later. But yeah, since then it's just been what I've been doing since then, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's funny actually, because I didn't know about Hazbin Hotel until somebody introduced me to it about a month before the pilot came out. And again, yeah, it's been going for years. But yeah, my knowledge of it was non-existent until the actual show. And when they told me about it, I didn't even watch it all the way through the first time. I skimmed through it. Because what it was, I was going to be on a podcast to talk about it, and I thought, nah, you know, I could skim through it. That'll work, right? And then they were talking about stuff, and I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. So I watched it all the way through, and I was like, actually, you know, it's really good. And obviously, you know, everyone loves Alistair the first time they ever see it. So I was like, this is really, you know, really good fun. And at the time, I was doing a parody voice channel anyway, and I thought about introducing Hazbin to it. And then since then, it just exploded. I mean, did you have something similar happen to you when you was, because you said you was doing stuff on your channel before. As soon as you started doing the Hazbin stuff, did you notice it just went bang, sort of thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, the story behind the very first one I did, the official Angel comic dub.
Dirty
up until that,
yeah.
Up until I did that one, I hadn't actually posted anything on YouTube in close to maybe like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Mainly the reason was because a lot of the music stuff I was doing beforehand when I was a lot younger and I was much less an amateur, and before I got my actual degree in music production, I was making like remixes and requests in my spare time, trying to recreate instrumentals and stuff, and I got like a moderate amount of traffic. And you know, I don't really care about that sort of thing. I don't usually care about views and the number of subscribers. Like, it's nice to have, but it's not something like I keep track of or anything. But doing all those requests and trying to base it around a lot of other stuff was essentially just saying, can't show this video in that country because of copyright, can't show it there, can't show it there. And I got sick of it because it was like, well, I can't do anything. The last straw was when I uploaded a remix of a Coldplay track. And immediately the algorithm, blessed be it, immediately flagged it as being, you're using copyrighted content, that video has been flagged. And I was like, but I've labeled it as a remix, it's not fair. So I essentially just gave up trying, and I just didn't pay attention for it for a while. Then after Hazbin came out and I started consuming it as much, I then found the official comics, and I found Dirty Healings. I think only the first 8 pages or so had been released at that time. And I'd enjoyed the pilot just because it was, you know, it was funny, it was, you know, great animation and good characters and stuff. But seeing that first official comic kind of what clued me into thinking, there's more to this than just being silly now. There's a hint of seriousness, you know, when Valentino shows up, when there's hints that Angel is not in a good position. So I was just messing around with it, just practicing and imitating the voices, because I've been told multiple times throughout my life that I'm somewhat of a mimic even from a young age. So I was just doing it for fun and talking with Dragon Scale about it, and we were swapping things back and forth. And the reason I decided to do a dub actually stemmed from my degree, because one of the tasks we had to do learning that was we were given a piece of video that was completely blank, and we were told add all the sound, which included all of the Foley sound effects, all of the atmospheres, any particular effects for something that aren't natural, all the voices. And it was one of the modules I excelled at, so I was thinking, I'll do that. That'll be a fun practice to see if I can still do that. So I asked Dragonscale to help me out with it, doing Charlie and Vaggy voices. I did everything else. And I just shoved it up there because I thought, well, it might get some traction, but I'm proud of what I made, so I'll shove it up there.
Yeah.
And then the week that I uploaded that, I actually went on a short family trip. I think it was shortly after the first lockdown over here had ended for like a little bit. And then I was just checking it idly on my phone. It was like, 10,000, 50, 100,000. And it just went from there, and I have no idea how. At first I thought, it's just because Hazbin's the popular thing right now, and we'll go for that. But I thought, well, if people liked that one, I'll do another one. So then I did the Red Smoke one, where I got to show off more of what people now treat as my version of Valentino. And then that exploded as well, and then I thought, well, if people like it this much, I guess I'll just keep doing it. And so I did. And here we are, talking to other people who thought the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand, all of that. And, because I had a very similar thing happen to me. Because first of all, I was just doing reactions, and it was just as a laugh. I was never serious about it. It was just like, just something else to do to split up the, the creative blocks that I was having in between making music and doing commissions. So I needed something to fill the gap. So I was just like taking characters and reacting to other people's stupid YouTube videos and doing them in character sort of thing. First of all, I started doing it with Zamasu on my channel from Dragon Ball Super. And then it went to Alistair, and people liked it. And then it went to Lucifer because I realized that, they'd included him in the, they had a design for him, but he didn't have a voice. And I thought, well, why not? So I had to play around with that. But I was only doing skits and things like that. And then it was only when I looked on Twitter that people were drawing comics. And I was like, it'd be really fun to comic dub these. Now, I'm not a sound designer. But I did think about, like, what sound effects would be in there, the atmosphere, that kind of stuff as well at the very, very beginning. My stuff's nowhere as good as yours. I'm not even going to say that. Especially someone that studied it as well and has a degree. But I do my best. But, I noticed that when I did my first comic dub, that it did exploded. It went, like, I was getting something like 12 to 50 subs a day, and I was thinking, that's pretty good. And as soon as I did the first comic dub, started doing Hazbin, it went from 50 to, like, nearly 200, 300 a day. And I was like, what the hell's happening here? That's why I started continuing doing it, because I figured, well, people like this. I'm actually doing something that people watch now. Because with the music stuff, although people watched it, I never really got big views from it. But I was never really that bothered, because it was more like, if I'm making music, the only way I can share it would be on YouTube. I mean, I sell my music through Spotify and all that kind of stuff, but then YouTube is kind of like a good advertising platform. So I was just using it basically for that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've always really appreciated so far going through Hazbin is that, as I mentioned earlier, because it does support creativity in so many different ways that, I've now gotten attention for doing things other than just doing Hazbin because people have enjoyed what I've done in it so much, and because those people, not only because they're shared Hazbin fans, but because they've also supported it through all that other stuff. It's a nice way that people have sort of paid attention. I mean, especially like if you say with the music stuff. Yeah. I've had the same thing happen on my SoundCloud page in terms of people paying more attention there, even to stuff that I posted years ago. And as I also said again, I don't track metrics. I'm not really too concerned with like sub counts or views. I'm just glad that people are supportive and that that they have the want to see more of what I do and what I think that I'm good at. And I don't usually make comparisons between channels in terms of like quality and stuff. We all have our own ways of doing things. I mean, I've seen people weirdly in some comment sections, I've seen them have discussions about who the best sort of fan voice for a certain character is, and it's like, I mean, to me, it's as you said with Lucifer, and in my case, I suppose I'm most well known for Valentino. In that, the thing that's the great freedom with that is because they don't have an official voice to reference, you can just be more creative than you can than just trying to imitate a character who already has a voice. Exactly. And all these different variations and interpretations I've seen of them have just been testament to how imaginative people can be within the fandom, and I've really appreciated that, and it's only kind of inspired me to keep going more as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Talking of voices, actually, though, which voices do you do or have you done in the comic dubs that you've made?
Every male voice you've heard in any of the dubs I've done has all been me.
Okay.
So that would be, to list these off, Angel, Alistair, Husk, Valentino, Vox, Blitz, Stolas. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody. I think, yeah, but the general is that any male voice you've heard in my dubs has all been me.
Right.
I am fully aware that I'm not proficient at some voices as much as I would like to be, and that requires more practice and stuff. For example, I've mentioned this in the past on my own channel. For Husk, if I ever try and do his voice, I can only ever record it just after I've woken up, because that's when my voice gets gravelly enough to imitate Mick's voice for him. Others are much more natural, like Angel's pitch is more in my natural speaking range, so it's kind of easy to slip in and out of just like that. Alistair is kind of in the same realm as well. You just need to be a bit more showmanship for that stuff like that. But yeah, every male voice in the dubs is all me.
That's cool. Well, I've actually had other people do some of the characters in my dubs, mainly because I can't do them. I would never attempt to do Angel Dust. Unfortunately, I was cursed with a barrel-toned voice. So if anything, I can probably do deeper voices, not so much higher voices. But Grizzy here, he has like a full range. He can go high, he can go low. So he does a load of voices. He does a lot of my voices. So he does like well, you tell him, Grizz. What voices do you do? Come on.
Fucking hell, you're putting me on the spot. All right.
Yeah, yeah, I am.
I could do, let's see, Vox, I do Angel, Husk, Alistair's, Fizzerali's.
Oh shit, I forgot Fizz. Yeah, that's one I've done as well.
Yeah, that's another one of mine as well.
Valentino, I know I've done. Arachnus. Damn.
See, now you're mentioning all these characters, I'm just remembering now, because I have done Arachnus and Pentius, and Fizzeroli, and Lucifer, actually, as well.
Ooh. I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, there's a particular one, I think it was, it was one that involved him, Charlie, and Lilith having an argument, and so I did Lucifer for that one.
Is it the one where Charlie says that maybe she's not a demon? Or no, she says maybe she's a good demon, and Lucifer says, well, maybe you're not a demon at all, or something like that.
Yeah, it's not that one, it's basically where Charlie storms out, and then Lucifer and Lilith just kind of have a conversation about how to handle it. Dragonscale thankfully did the voices for both Charlie and Lilith in that one, which helped out a lot, because again, as much as I would like to, I can't impersonate girls.
No,
but,
and I wouldn't even attempt it. The only time I ever impersonate a girl is if I'm doing a ironic parody, you know, like it's supposed to be bad.
Yeah,
Mother Nature.
Yeah.
I was actually having this conversation with someone else the other day, and that, yeah, if you put on like sort of like the fake voice, I can like apparently do like a really good Valley girl, which is not a good thing to have. So I remember,
fucking god, you could do a Valley girl? Oh my god.
So like, I'm like, are you like serious or like whatever? Like, I can't believe like I am on like the Holocaust right now answering questions.
Oh
Like,
my
what the
God.
fuck?
I can't believe Brad cheated on you with Vanessa. Oh my god.
No, right? And I saw him like, he was like behind the dumpsters the other day, and I'll tell you, she was bobbing for apples, and they were not apples, let me tell you that, okay?
Well, Blissey does my Charlie, and she also does Millie. I haven't done the Hell of a Boss comics yet, but I want to, and when I do, obviously, we'll get those voices. I have got another person that does other voices. He does Angel Dust as well, and he also does a really good Brandon Rogers impression, so, you know.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's Corey.
Yep.
Yeah, I think trying to do Blitz has probably been the hardest voice I've ever attempted, and I know my version of it needs more practice, because the thing with him is that if you don't nail Brandon Rogers, you don't nail the character.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is, you know, that there's no, there's no sort of getting around that. I mean, when it comes to the other characters, they're obviously the actor putting on a voice, but Blitz is just Brandon. So if you can't do Brandon, you can't do him.
That's fair, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that would love to do Brandon. Bah! Sorry.
Bah!
Okay. Which one of the voices is one of your favorites to do then?
That has kind of fluctuated over the time in doing it.
Okay, I got
in terms of
which one's the most comfortable for you to do? Which one do you feel more natural doing?
The one that's easiest for me is Angel, just because I've done it the most. I mean, I've done his voice doing all manner of situation. I've done it singing. I've done it in all sorts of manners, and because his pitch of speaking is close to how I talk normally, at least in that range, then it's easier for me to slip into and out of. But I will say that just because I've been surprised at how much people have liked it, doing any Valentino line has been really fun.
That's funny actually, because like, I mean, I do Valentino as well. Grizzy does Valentino. Another one of the people that do voices for me does Valentino. And whenever we do it, even if we're all doing it and we all have a different one, and we're doing it on a live stream, people still have the same reaction. It's just like they don't even care what the voice sounds like as long as it's just Valentino. I mean, they probably do have like a substandard, but I mean, because you couldn't go on and go, "Hi there, my name's Valentino." I think people would just be like,
"Get over here right now."
Guys, my name's Valentino. It's just my routine.
Oh god.
Good, Angel. It's nice to see you back in the studio, eh?
Damn, it's
Just
a
make
Cockney
sure
Belle.
actually, that's quite good. What if
Cockney Valentino?
Yeah, what if he is a Cockney?
Cockney Valentino is cursed as shit.
Oh,
That's
Angel.
terrible.
Where the fuck's me money, Angel?
You just gave me an idea, actually.
Oh no.
You just gave me, and actually, maybe we could make this a collab as well. Right, we should take one of the comics, right, that's got quite a lot of characters in it, and just dub them all in English voice, like, you know, British accents.
Oh god.
Ish
Yeah.
posh.
I do like the idea, but it is still cursed. It's like,
Of course,
Angel,
yeah,
baby,
totally.
what have
cursed.
I told you countless times, sweetheart, regarding you working me affairs, right?
That would be a winner, a one-off at least.
that's like simultaneously the best and worst idea. I love it.
Yeah.
It sort of just reminds me of remember, I think it was the last live stream, Madness, where we all tried doing Scottish and Irish accents as the characters.
Oh god. Yeah, of
Yeah.
each character. Oh man.
I don't know. My favorite has to be Scottish or Irish Angel Dust. It just works too well.
Yeah, that one does work too well. It's kind of scary.
I can suck your dick.
Oh, yeah, Alistair, you're a fucking cunt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're gonna be Irish, you need to get that in there, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's gotta be, you know, part of the vocabulary. Okay, I don't know what your opinion is on ships, but because the fandom goes crazy for ships. They're shipping everyone together, fucking like lamppost and lamppost or whatever. If they found it in Hazbin Hotel had a personality, but what would you say is your most favorite if you have one? Or at least most favorite pairing. How's that?
Yeah, again, I do have one, but it's kind of similar to answer I gave when someone else asked me this question elsewhere. Most things that I'm interested in terms of like a series or show and something is that I don't delve too much into ship culture.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't have favorites.
We just do it for laughs.
Yeah, of course. And it's like whenever I choose my dubs, there's a lot of them that are based around a particular ship. So I've seen multiple pieces of artwork and ideas and stories that people have about how these characters could be at one point. And a lot of it has been cute and, you know, just that I haven't really got a preference in a lot of them. The only thing that hesitates me from confirming one which is I do prefer more than the others is just because I've noticed, especially on video comment sections that I have on mine, is that if you show any sort of preference to a particular pairing or someone else does, you inevitably get these comments that are just like, I don't ship this, but all those other ones going, ew, this isn't canon, it's not fair. So I usually don't try and stir that fire.
There was that whole issue last year, wasn't there, where it was getting out of hand, where people were actually sending each other death threats and shit. I know which ships you're talking about as well, but yeah.
It's very dumb. So I'll say that I do have a favourite, but to try and not stoke the fire, I won't say what it is. Maybe I will down the line.
That's fine.
So yeah,
I know which one it is.
There is a favourite. Do you really?
I think well, I've got a guess. I've got a guess anyway. I will say that I have multiple, but one of my favourite pairings is actually Vox and Valentino.
Yeah, I've come around to that one.
I like the dynamics that they have, like, you know, the way they play off the way that people depict the way they play off each other in comics and stuff like that. That they're always arguing, and it's just some of the stuff is just so like funny, or sometimes it's like, wow, okay, that really does happen, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as much of a debacle as the Instagrams were with everything that happened regarding them, I did like how it did give you like a little bit of an idea of what they might portray in the show. And I do appreciate, I mean, it kind of goes back to the reason why I think a lot of people do like Valentino. It's not because they like endorse what he does, it's because he's just like a good source of drama and potential with other characters. So at first we thought it was only going to affect Angel, but then through revealing that he's kind of on and off again with Vox, it's like, there's more there, and that's what kind of draws you into thinking, what are they like together? So yeah, and especially recently with the Valentino cover I did and what some other people have been doing, I've come around to Vox and Belle. It took a while, but I got there.
Yeah, I mean, when I did my version or parody of Addict, I did it synthwave, because the idea was that Vox made the music, and Vox and Valentine and Velvet sung the song, and that did actually take off quite well. I did have a lot of problems with it at the very, very beginning though, but yeah, I mean, it just I don't know, it seems like they would probably be quite musical in themselves as well, so they're a really good excuse to use for any like electronic sort of covers. That's sort of how I feel with them. But I like the way they play off each other as well. They have good,
there's good potential
chemistry
there. I've also noticed how there's at least one person in the chat who's tried to guess what it is in terms of my favourite. I'm not going to confirm or deny it, but it's just funny seeing people trying to guess.
You'll get that. Oh, excuse me, I'm just dying. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I've listened to some of your music, right? Some of the stuff that isn't Hazbin Hotel. And I was super impressed as well, because you know, I've been making music since I was 18 years old, and you know, I've dabbled in all different styles myself and all that kind of thing. And I like to listen to other musicians as well, or musical producers. And I was listening to some of your stuff, and because I heard your Addict, and I really like that, the hard style one. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just went back through and I was like, this is, you know, you've got a nice range of stuff. But what is the sort of music that you like to listen to? I mean, like, when you're just, like, kicking back and chilling.
Well, that will mostly depend on the particular mood, but one I will always go back to is kind of that sort of hard-edged electronic stuff. I mean, first album I ever bought myself was a hardcore compilation CD called Bonkers 14 back in 2005. And
I remember that Bonkers.
Yeah,
I think I remember that. Yeah.
They were those albums kind of they kind of got me into the idea of, this sounds so good, I want to try and make it. And so for a long time it was always sort of like the hard dance, hardcore sort of edge of stuff, and that's when I was discovering artists like Yoji, like the Vinyl Groover, like Ann Savage, all these different ones who made that sort of harder edge music. And then I started learning about other artists from like Japan that do it, like Cause K and Ryu Star and DJ Shimamura and a bunch of other stuff like that. And then there's the other Dutch producers who still make like the really aggressive sort of hardcore sound. So I find myself listening to that a lot more. But in terms of music I'm making recently, and stuff like that. There are some like occasional mainstream pop stars that I like. Like I still like a lot of Lady Gaga stuff, just because she's, to me, one of the more creative people that's still left in pop music.
Yeah.
Given the state that pop music has gotten into.
Yeah.
Clearly, a lot of Daft Punk has been a big inspiration just because of what they've accomplished. I also find myself listening to a lot of like soundtracks for things, whether it's like a game or a movie and stuff, like orchestral pieces, because they can be quite nice.
I'm quite
long
big
answer
into
short.
soundtrack stuff.
Yeah, long answer short, it's pretty much I listen to a range of stuff, but if I'm given a choice of stuff to listen at any particular moment, it's usually dance music.
Fair play. Well, I used to really be mad into like old school 90s, early 2000 trance, and that's what got me into trying to make music like that. And then obviously I dabbled into other stuff, but I realized that when I was making these tracks, they sounded more like soundtracks, like from video games and stuff like that. And whenever I posted them, people would say, "Oh, this sounds like Mega Man X," or blah blah blah. So I started doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, I go back every now and then. I can do like covers and things like that. But as aside from making like original pieces, they just end up sounding like soundtracks. So that's why I normally angle myself towards synthwave, because synthwave sounds like soundtrack anyway. But that would be the sort of music I like to sort of chill out and listen to, because it's you have like the different types. You have like aggressive. Sort of synth stuff, or you have that vaporwave, which is really chill.
Yeah, it depends on the certain mood for me. Like if I'm usually wanting to have like a moment that's like quite relaxing, I'll stick on something like the How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack, or I'll stick on things like some of the more ambient pieces that Daft Punk did, or stuff by Eric Pritz that's just kind of like, 15-minute long progressive house songs that are just kind of very minimal and sort of chilled out. And then other times, if you're just in a very foul mood, you put on like the most angry sounding distorted bass drums you can think of, and that usually does the job too.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. All right. Here's a question that's like completely unrelated to everything in a way. I suppose it could be related to Hazbin in some senses, but what do you prefer, British comedy or American comedy?
Well, being a Brit, I am biased in answering this question, but I will say British, just because I find the potential for sort of very dry delivery of things in a lot of stuff, and the idea of satire, I think that we have the edge in it a little bit. Like I've recently been rewatching a lot of David Mitchell and Robert Webb.
Oh god!
And I rediscovered their sketch series about that quiz show about after the end of the world, and it's been so relevant to what's happening today everywhere that it's just even funnier in hindsight. It's like, hello, good evening, and remain indoors. That sort of, and there's a lot of observational comedy that I think Britons do, or British people do, a lot better. That's not to say that American comedy doesn't have a lot of good stuff to it. I can't remember his name, but there was one I was watching recently. The guy who does the long story talk about this woman who approached him saying, what is it? Eat ass, suck a dick, and sell drugs, whatever he is. There was like a really long-winded story where he was telling that, and the way he tells that joke is really funny because it's like an actual anecdote more than anything else. There's some sketch shows and stuff by American comedians that I really like, but yeah, overall I would say British edges it just for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want everyone in the chats to sort of jump on me, but yeah, I do like. I always preferred British comedy because of it being so like dry and like sometimes straight in your face, and and crude in some ways as well.
Yeah, it's
but,
stuff like
I just wanted to ask.
It's like as someone in the chat rightly said, the original British version of The Office, or things like Peep Show and stuff. It's stuff that like borders on being excruciatingly embarrassing, but it's just so funny at the same time.
Yeah, the embarrassment. Yeah, I mean, there's several moments in The Office, isn't it, with Ricky Gervais, like when he's trying to explain something, and then like they get the wrong idea, so he tries to re-explain it to try and save his own skin, but it just gets worse and more cringy and cringy.
Yeah, there's one in particular from Peep Show that I remember where it was like they accidentally run over this girl's dog, and it gets cooked in a bag, and they have to like try and pretend it's not the dog, and they end up starting eating bits of it. It's just it's so bad, but it's so funny. It's awful.
Oh dear. Ah dear. Okay, so I've got this question. We did talk about it just before, but I think this would be quite funny. So, if you could cast the main characters from Hell of a Boss, which Hollywood actors would you have play who? And you can be as creative as you want. You can. They don't have to be like ironic. They can be serious if you really want.
Well, I mean, I gave this warning before we actually went live, is that in terms of like actor names and stuff, I can easily pick out faces, but I like the names of people, like I so struggle with when it comes to actors. God, that's a really difficult question. I think just because I know that he has this sort of flamboyance to him, I think Johnny Depp doing Stolas would be quite interesting to see, because he's got like he's got like this habit of playing these sort of flamboyant, kooky characters, which Stolas definitely has an air of about him when he gets a little spicy with his language. In terms of anyone else, though, I don't know. The voice actors already kind of encapsulate their characters so well already. It's really difficult to imagine who else would do it as well. Like for Blitz, it's like because he is Brandon Rogers, pretty much. It's like I can't really think of anyone else who would.
One to go over. I did think of what's his name? Who's the guy that plays Rocket Raccoon? He was the green. No, not him. Yeah, the one that was in the A-Team. He played Face, I think.
Oh, God.
He was also in The Hangover.
That's the thing, I can see his face, but I don't know what his name is.
Brad
so bad.
Something? Bradley something? I can't remember.
This is going to annoy me if I don't look it up. Hang on. I'm going to get irritated. What's his name? Bradley Cooper. That's
Bradley
his
Cooper.
name, yes.
Bradley Cooper. Do you reckon he'd make a good Blitz? Or him? Or, Ryan Reynolds.
Actually, Ryan Reynolds would be a good Blitz now I think about it, because that sort of chaotic, really foul mouth thing could just easily translate from what he's done for Deadpool.
Yeah.
I could see him doing that. But Bradley Cooper's got more of the voice that would be sort of that.
So that's what I was thinking.
It's a bit of both, I guess.
Maybe just splice them together.
We'll have Bradley Reynolds or Ryan Cooper, who sounds like the most generic guy
Cooper.
ever.
Sounds like an F1 driver.
He sounds more like someone who come around to like fix your TV. It's like, hey, up, my name's
Cooper.
Brian.
Cooper Electronics.
Oh God.
All right. What about Moxie?
Again.
Oh, I got one. He's not exactly a Hollywood actor. He has been in Hollywood films. But what about Lee Evans?
Lee Evans might actually do not a bad Moxie.
He's got the energy.
Yeah, he's definitely got the sort of energy and sort of fluster at being astounded by things to knock it off. He'd just have to really nail the voice. I mean, I've seen Evans do other things outside of his comedy work before, he might be able to do it.
Who else we got? Millie. Now that's a difficult one.
Oh Lord, someone like Dolly Parton, just for the really sort of country drawl.
Hey, y'all, Moxie!
That could actually work, maybe. Let's get these too involved as well. What do you guys think? Jenny, Lissy,
When it comes to putting people with different Hazbin characters,
yeah, like Hollywood actors, people that have been in movies.
Nicolas Cage is Lucifer.
Oh, this is a hell of a boss.
I do like that idea, though.
How about Nicolas Cage from Fizz-a-Rolling?
You can't open a hotel for demons, okay?
Let's see here. Reba would be good for Millie.
Who?
Reba? She's a singer.
You
ever heard of her?
No.
She's a country singer.
Oh, okay.
And she was in a show.
We'll just go with that. I think that's fine. If she's a country singer, then she'll have the voice.
Yeah, she's a country singer. She's pretty cool. I like her. I don't know. I don't know that much. I'm sorry.
What about
Let me
Luna?
think. Oh, jeez.
Avril Lavigne?
Yeah.
Just any sort of like
Just some angsty
punk
teen.
rocker.
Although she's not even
Yeah.
a teen anymore, do you know what I mean?
Either Avril Lavigne as Luna or Octavia.
Yeah.
I think Levine will probably do better as Octavia because she actually is that sort of skater boy, later boy sort of vibe. Where
Yeah.
Luna would be a little bit old for that, I think.
Angelina Jolie as Lilith.
Hell of a boss.
I know, I'm thinking. I'm sorry.
Hell of a boss.
Okay, hell of a boss. Moxie, it'd be funny, but Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, okay. Just think of it this way. Yes! Why not?
No, it's fine. I think that's a legit answer. Yeah.
And I agree with the Ryan Reynolds as
I was actually thinking Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker. Oh my!
Chris Tucker as Moxie.
Oh no! Oh no!
Alright, how about Danny DeVito as Nifty?
Absolutely, I'm 100% behind that.
Alright, we'll do all of them.
It's been a while since I made friends with my magnum dong.
Oh my.
Are there any men here?
Actually, I forgot his name. He started in Blackish. Let me find his name. Blackish. Let me see his name. He's obviously okay. Yes, Anthony Anderson, and he would be a good husk.
Is he a stand-up comedian?
He's an actor.
Okay. I don't recognize the name.
Yeah, he is also a comedian, but he's mainly for acting.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll show you him. Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. Give me a minute. Ah! There you are.
The trials and tribulations of sending pictures.
Keanu
Hey,
Reeves
you know
as
what?
Vox.
Yes!
I could see that actually, yeah. I mean, he's already played one sort of disastrous cyber character recently, so
Johnny
he can do it again.
Oh, I can't even say that word. You know the one I mean, don't you? God, I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, in that experience,
Oh, that
if you
was
want to
funny.
call it
Oh,
that.
that guy. Yeah, I know that guy. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, I'll go with that. Yeah, that's cool.
Ari Spears is Valentino. He's a comedian.
Saying all these names I don't recognize. I'm sure.
We watched him! It's the guy that does impressions
I don't remember the names. I'm really.
okay.
I'm not great with, like, a lot of names. I know the big names, but I don't know, like, the big names.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Frizzy
you were
probably
going for someone who had like a really smooth voice, then I know someone just suggested it in the chat of maybe voicing Alistair instead. But yes, what's his name? Hang on, I'll need to look this up.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
No, Keith David as Valentino, the guy who he plays Anderson in Mass Effect. He plays, as someone mentioned, Dr. Facilier in Prince and the Frog. Just he's got that sort of very rich voice that would probably suit him quite well, I think.
Yeah. Could go with that. Definitely go with that. See, it's a shame that Mr. Bowie is passed, because I think he would have been a good Lucifer.
Yeah, actually, I can see that, yeah. I mean, I've actually been rewatching Twin Peaks recently, and I've just gotten up to the point where Bowie shows up as a character, and I can see, yeah, I can definitely see that being a Lucifer thing.
I can't really think of any other characters. I'm trying to rack my brain, like, because I'm thinking of actors, but not thinking of characters, and I'm thinking, what can I put those actors with? I'm doing it the wrong way round.
Yeah, this is like a difficult question, just because I'm good at recognizing like actors' faces, but I just can't remember their names.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, see, I get like that. Morgan Freeman's got to be in there somewhere, though. I don't know. Maybe he could be the narrator.
If God ever shows up. No, if God ever shows up.
God,
that's
well, he is God, isn't he?
Exactly. He shows up and Charlie's like,
Grandpa?
He has the voice for it. Actually, question 9 we can just skip, because we actually did that as part of question 2. I just realised. We'll get rid of that. Okay, I got. We'll do question 10, then we'll just chill for a bit. So, who do you think would win in a fight between Lucifer Main and Lucifer Morningstar?
well, I only have vague knowledge of Morningstar, because I did used to watch Lucifer a little bit when it was around. I would think probably the Hazbin Lucifer would probably do more, just because he's remained in hell. So I guess that his exertion and control of still being able to call himself the king of the place means that he's still extremely powerful. I don't think it would be like obviously one destroys the other. It would be a close fight, but I think Hazbin Lucifer would win it just.
Yeah. I like that answer.
It's weird, I haven't thought about Lucifer, the show, in years. I know my cousin used to be obsessed with it, which is probably how I saw half of it.
I've never even seen it. People are always saying, and it's funny because, like, obviously on my channel I depict Lucifer mainly. I do other things like other voices and stuff, but mostly it's just Lucifer. Like when I present live streams, usually I do it as, if we're doing one in character, then I would always do it as Lucifer. But yeah, I've never seen Lucifer. What's it called? Yeah, I've never actually seen the show, the Netflix show Lucifer, and people are always telling me I should watch it.
So I give you inspiration to, like, oh, you can apply that Lucifer to this Lucifer and see what happens then.
Well, I had this thing, like, people kept like posting things to me in one of my old servers saying, oh, you should read Lucifer quotes on one of your videos, and I was like, yeah, but I've never seen it, so I don't know how to deliver them. So I just grabbed all the quotes and just read them, basically, and people are like, oh, that's really good, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't even know if that sounded right. But, yeah. But again, I should really check it out.
Yeah, I had that recently when, in a request video I was doing, someone wanted me to read a quote from Devil's Advocate as Lucifer, and I've never seen that film, but the quote was, it was very, very, it was a very good quote they chose, because it was literally about how God's a hypocrite, and I was thinking, yeah, this fits. That'll work.
It's funny, actually, because I have seen that film, although I don't really remember it.
I kind of know what it's about. I just have never seen it, or maybe I saw it many, many years ago and just forgot.
I think it's one of them, yeah. I mean, that's usually how that is with me. I'll watch something once, and then I'll just completely forget everything about it. If it wasn't, I mean, because it's a good movie. That's a great movie. But it's so similar to other movies that came out after that it gets, like, mixed up in my mind when I'm thinking back, and I think, oh yeah, this happened. It's like, no, it's a different movie. Like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, it's definitely a different movie. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can't remember how it goes then, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I get that a little bit of that sort of feeling when it's talking about horror movies, because like horror films and horror in general is like easily my favorite genre of anything. And it's kind of influenced a few of the comics I've chosen to do that does have a horror tinge to it. Like, I remember I did that really short one not so long ago that essentially ended in Valentino killing fat nuggets, and people were losing their minds, but I loved making it because it was like, oh, I get to do something scary, this will be fun.
I remember that one. I was
so like a lot of those
one.
situations from horror movies kind of blend together in my head, so I'm thinking, was that in this one or was it in that one or whatever?
Yeah.
It's weird, but I do kind of hope that Hazbin and Helliver kind of explore a little bit more of that. I mean, it is hell that the main setting is, so there has to be some horrible things in there that we see more than just the jokes.
Yeah.
But that's a personal request slipping through.
To be honest, I think, if anything, they'll probably keep Hell of a Boss the way it is, like all comedy, jokes, like quick whips here and everything. But I think what they'll do with Hazbin is they'll do a blend between the two, and they'll have like serious moments, and then they'll have the comedy and obviously the song and dance. So that's what I think they'll probably do. But it'd be nice if they did did it in both of them.
Yeah, I got briefly booted out for whatever reason, but I'm okay.
Oh blimey! Did everyone
I'm
hear
like,
what I said?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm alive.
Okay. But
He's alive!
What I was saying was,
For now.
I think what they'll probably do is in Hazbin Hotel, they'll probably have like all the different elements. They'll have like the dark bits and the comedy and the.
We're still alive. We're still going.
Oh wait, can you guys hear me? I don't think they can hear me. Hang on one sec. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello?
Are we good? I mean,
Can you hear
if
me?
he was to speak right now, I can't hear him, so I don't
You
know what's
can't hear me?
going on.
Oh my god, one sec. What's going on? I'm connecting, but it's not... No route. Oh my god. Okay, so everybody,
just me and her. Although there's a larger project I'm doing that's based in the Alien universe where I am actually asking for more help with that from other people I know. So that's going to be interesting, just 'cause it's going to be a lot of work, but hopefully it'll be worth it.
can you guys hear me now?
Yes!
Ah, what the hell happened there? Sorry, that was Discord. Discord, damn you! Okay, so let's just continue. So, what you were saying about a new project you're working on? This sounds interesting.
Yes. It's one I briefly mentioned on the last stream I did. It's going to be a full sound design and dubbing of comics set in the Alien universe. It's called Dead Orbit. It's going to be the first issue of it.
Sounds cool.
And that's gonna be a lot of work because sci-fi is something I haven't really delved into in terms of sound design for a while yet. And I do want to try and reference and use what I can from the Alien films, like if there's a particular alarm sound that's like iconic and stuff, I want to do that. And it's going to be the first comic dub where I'm actually asking some other people I know besides me to help with some of the voices, because there's about 7 different characters in this particular one. And trying to distinguish them all just using my voice, because they're all just normal people, I don't think it sounds convincing enough for me. So I'm asking other people to help me with that. That might take a while to get finished just because of the sheer amount of sound editing that's going to have to go into that to make it sound okay. I mean, you have to consider in things like computer noise, ship engine noise, radio communication, doors opening, doors closing, the alien itself. There's going to be a lot, but when it's done, I hope it's going to be well worth it.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, if you need anything, any voices or whatever, we're always looking for other projects to work on as well. So if you
we're losing him again.
Oh wait, am I still here?
5cc stat!
Am I still here? Can you hear me? Oh my god. Right, so I'm gonna talk and type so that they can hear me. So they can read.
Oh, Discord.
Okay, Another question. How do you choose your voices, or how are you going to choose your voices for the new project?
That's mainly down to how they talk, and what they look like. I mean, the particular ones in this Alien comic, they're all kind of just normal crewmates, but they all have, like, one of them has a name that's Wazlewski, so he has to have, like, a European accent. There's other ones that sound like more classically American. There's a female doctor on there. There's another character who speaks, or that his words are written a certain way, which suggests that he has a Southern US accent. So it's all kind of down to how they've been written in the original, and also just seeing what kind of flows naturally to make them all sound distinct from one another.
Okay. Apparently, Hazbin's having mic issues, so he is going to.
I'm having mic issues. For some reason, I'm
speaking
having
no
some
mic me,
weird issues
let
with the
me
connection.
make it that way
Discord's
you can
connection
see
is
it.
the crappiest, right? And although I can hear them,
Actually,
and
you can
can
see
hear
it.
them,
Okay, cool.
but
You can
nobody
see,
can
because
hear
you're
me.
you are the chosen. Dun, dun, dun.
I've been allowed into this sacred house.
So he's gonna type in for no mic being, because apparently the stream can hear him. Just he's having problems with this.
Discord is such a strange program for that. Like, it's kind of like the best you can do given how things like Skype and everything went under and how they're even more buggy than Discord, but the number of problems that this thing has sometimes is a case of, guys, this should be better.
Oh, he says, what I was saying, if you need extra voices, we're always looking for more projects, so if you need anyone.
Well, I will take that under advisement, because, again, I've currently got myself and 2 other people to help, but I may need more yet, so I will let you know if necessary.
What?
'Cause
Need a female voice?
You've got a lot of good people doing the dubs on here, so you know I'm not going to turn that sort of chance to work down with equally talented individuals.
Oh, well, again, if you ever fall short, we're here for you. But, yee. Oh.
So it's funny. This is going to slow down conversation.
Oh
'cause
man,
I'm having
I bloody hate this.
Oh, now I can hear you again.
Oh,
I don't
wait, I'm
understand.
back.
I was
don't
going to
understand.
say,
Oh my
I was
god.
gonna say before he came back, so I got into the whole VA thing, right? Through Skype, actually. I met people on Skype. Those were the days. And then I heard about
Way
then
back.
I heard about Discord in 2016-17. And that's how I got on Discord. But
I think I made the jump to Discord maybe probably like I think it was shortly after it came out, and there was a group of people that I used to speak to on Skype, and they're saying we're all jumping onto this one because Skype just doesn't work. Like, calls are dropping all the time, it crashes, it's all sorts. No, we'll just jump over there, and
Now
I've been
it's all-
there ever since.
See, that's the thing. I
now
never
it's all
used
bloatware
Skype.
for here in Windows 10.
I actually
Yeah,
used.
and
oh my
we've
God,
lost
I've
him
gone
again.
I've gone again. Okay, so I'm gonna say
Guys,
this,
we
and then I'm
weren't
gonna
expecting
type.
this to happen.
I actually used to use TeamSpeak and Ventrilo.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, he's typing again. He says, I actually used to use TeamSpeak and Ventrilo. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I remember those days.
That's just like blasting me back to the past of when like there was those old Ventrilo harassment videos where people would just like do soundboards in like live game lobbies.
He says, an X-Fire. Yeah, I remember I used to use Ventrilo and TeamSpeak when I was playing Final Fantasy XIV. When it first came out. Like, actually, I redid it. The Realm Reborn. And so I met my FC, as we call it, free company. And, he goes, the Duke Nukem's troll vent. Oof.
Yeah, there was a like I actually remember that specific one. It was like every time like some screaming little kid would just say, shut up, dude, and then they just play a dude who was like, blow it out your ass. And it was like, good
I saw
times.
that on YouTube. I saw that on YouTube.
My personal favorite was when there was a guy who was like obnoxiously crunching like Cheetos or something, And the guy sampled his crunching, and every time he spoke from then onwards, he would just play that sample of him crunching. Oh, the internet was a simpler time back then.
Now look at it. You do everything on your computer
not simple anymore.
Yeah, now it's a case of if you don't cross your T's and dot your I's, you'll have your life ruined.
Do you like the whole ASMR thing where they talk low, or they crunch, or whatever? You know what
Honestly,
I'm talking
that sort of thing just kind of irritates me, because it's like like one of my pet hates is like if I'm in like a restaurant and I see someone or hear someone like chomping on something quite loudly, I'm like, close your mouth, I don't need this. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, we're back again.
Hazbin has the same thing.
God, it is so irritating. Like it's like the equivalent. It's like, yes, you obnoxious person sitting over to me, crunch right in my ear. I have a conscious desire to actively hear you like chew on bones in my ears or something.
You can hear me again.
Yeah.
I noticed because where it says voice connected, if it goes down to the red, then it basically just says bugger off. But when it goes green, I'm back again, apparently. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's weird. Anyway, I agree with you. I really hate that. I did it right because, like, I'm not a really big fan of ASMR stuff. You know, somebody whispering in my ear rolls, no thanks. But that people were asking me to do it as Lucifer, so I thought, you know what, I'll give them something. So what I did was I basically read the recipe for an apple pie in ASMR. And it got so many likes and so many views, and people going, oh, and flustering people as well. Because I actually put it on a premiere just for a laugh, and oh god, it was cringe, pure cringe.
I mean, I usually go along the lines of like to each their own, but there are some things which I just cannot understand, and unfortunately, ASMR is one of them. I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. Like, it also ties into like the stupid videos of what they call mukbangs, where it's like, yes, I want to sit here and watch this random ass woman just eat like a feast full of food for 20 minutes. Like, no. Why would anyone want that? That's not.
People do it. I do it. Well, I found it funny when Hazbin did a stay tuned. I might make an apple strudel.
Yes,
oh my God.
at the very end. I was like, come back for part 2 and I'm going to talk about how you make an apple strudel. There was no part 2, trust me.
I was like, I'm doing this once, never again.
Never again. And the only time I'll do it again is if somebody pays me a large sum of money. Now, it's a joke, so don't do it. Don't do that, people, because I'm not going to do it.
I mean, that was actually something...
Do it!
I mean, that was actually something I was expecting when I did a request video recently. I was expecting to get far worse than I actually got. Like, most of the requests I got were, like, relatively tame, and most of them were just kind of like memes, which is always going to be fun to do. But I was expecting to get asked to do a lot worse than that, because I did essentially say, as long as it's not within YouTube will ban me limits, go for it, I don't care. But everyone was surprisingly well behaved, so thanks for that in advance.
You know, I might actually do that. I've done Q&As, and I've only done a couple of them. But I've never done a request video. I think that's a good idea, actually. I'm going to steal that. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's not an original idea. I don't own it. Go for it.
You haven't patented it, have you? I know what these Brits are like. Do you know what I mean? We patent everything.
I say, as a fellow Brit, I know what those Brits are up to all the time.
Yes. Oh, did you hear about that British company that tried to patent a word that already existed in the dictionary, so that no other gaming company could use that word? That obviously felt completely true.
Yeah. Was that one of the people who did Candy Crush? Like, they tried to trademark
something
the word
like
candy
that.
or something.
Yeah. So that if anyone used the word candy anywhere, they'd have to pay them money, and they were just like, shut up. Don't be ridiculous.
God, I remember them doing that, and they were like, you can't trademark the word saga, because it's like, it's a thing that most people use in a lot of other things. You can't trademark that.
Yeah.
I remember it caused a massive stink in the wake of people saying, like, I spent 200 grand on playing Candy Crush for extra lives. And it really made me question where we've come to as a species when that's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for you guys since you live in the UK. I heard in the UK, McDonald's tried to trademark their Big Mac. So, Burger King ended up making a troll menu of the not so Big Mac or something like that.
So, do you know, that does sound familiar. That does ring a bell.
I have like no idea if that's true, but I hope it is.
That does sound like something that would happen. It does.
Like you know, like one of those stories where you're not sure if it happened or not, but you swear to God you need it to be real. Like the best this is actually a real story. I got told this by someone I know from Australia. In Australia, Burger King tried to branch out into Australia like years and years and years ago, and it turns out there was a local business in a particular area that had already called himself Burger King, and so Burger King tried to take him to court, basically saying that we want to use this name and stuff, and they lost. Like they lost against this small business, so every Burger King in Australia has had to call themselves Hungry Jacks because they're not allowed to use the name Burger King because of this one guy. It's great.
Wow.
Look at the No Mike Main.
Yeah, I love that menu. Burger Big Mac wished it was.
Oh, I so hope that's real.
Anything
I really
but
hope
a Big
that's real. I want that to be true so badly, just because I love pettiness like that.
That is
Big Mac
funny.
that's actually big.
Well, they have actually done like ads over here before. I mean, way back, right? They used to do ads where they would compare themselves against other like brands, and then they were told they weren't allowed to do that. And then they started doing it again, and I'm sure there was an advert, and it was something like it was a Tesco advert, and at the end it was like not Asda or something like that, or better than Asda or something like that.
Yeah, I have a memory of that as well, actually, where they kind of like compared the prices they were doing on like this weird bar chart thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is how much they'd charge you, but not us, we do this. And
Oh, it was
like,
Lidl. It was a Lidl advert. They were talking about
that was
Tesco
it, yeah.
and Asda. That was it.
Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, that's probably, I would believe that is something that's, that is around, well, it's probably in one of the restaurants somewhere in the UK. I'm going to find that restaurant.
So I can shake their hand firmly.
Yes. Haha. And get myself a not Big Mac.
I like how that's
And
just like
fries.
whenever you get told to like exaggerate a British accent, you only have two options. It's either stiff up a little sport, or you
Yes.
talk like a character from Harry Potter.
Why, Professor, we could help them.
It's like,
Sorry.
Well, my two exaggerated ones are obviously the stiff upper lip and prim and proper, and then you've got the what geezer, yeah, get out of my way.
yeah, it's essentially like how like my northern accent, but like exaggerated to 1 billion, or like someone who lives in like the very richest part of London, but exaggerated to 1 billion. There is no in between.
No.
It probably would explain a lot. Like, imagine if someone from like a Scouser ever spoke, and like
God.
no one would know where they're from.
Yeah, where are you from? Wales? They're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I've been mistaken for being Australian once.
Well,
and I was like,
see, that's
nope.
the thing. I was just about to touch on that. I think because when people do British accents, they exaggerate one or the other. When they actually hear a British accent, they think we're from Australia.
Yeah, it's. I've had that accusation, for lack of a better term, thrown at me. It's like, you guys from Australia? I'm like, nope, other side of the world, love. Sorry.
I've had that as well. Been in calls and stuff, and people are like, I thought you was from Australia. I'm like, what gave you that impression? Really?
Was it the fact that my voice doesn't sound anything like Australia?
Because I've met Aussie, like, I've spoken to I've got some friends that are Australian as well. And when we're in chat together, they're like, I didn't know who was talking, you or him. And I'm like, we don't even sound the same. Hey, there you go. I don't know. It is similar in some ways, but,
I'll say
we can tell.
I'll say just small world, and that we'll do something like on the lines of for the Empire, and that'll be enough.
Yes.
That'll explain it.
That'll do it. Yes. So, have you got any music projects that you're working on at the moment? Anything that isn't top secret?
I have at least 3. One which I did put a sample up of on my Twitter, and I usually hate using stuff like because I don't like doing the promotion thing. I feel very uncomfortable doing it, but it is on my Twitter.
Right.
There's like a short sample of La Vie en Rose in Alistair's voice, which people kind of flocked to, and they were like, "Oh my god! I was like, yeah, I had a feeling that I'd get that reaction.
Yeah.
But there's 2 others that I'm working on. One is a collaboration with another singer who's providing another character voice for it.
Okay.
They are amazingly talented. And there is going to be like the usual thing that I put into the covers I do, which have a little bit of story involved in them, a bit of a scenario to set it up, as it were. The song itself is finished. We just need to record the actual voice acting, and then I need to do the sound design around that first, and then I should unleash that on everybody.
Oh, that'll be good.
There's another one which is another solo song cover. I won't say what the song is,
no,
and I
that's
won't
cool.
say the scene that I'll put to that, but I will say it is as Valentino,
Right.
which could be interesting for some people because they react viscerally whenever his voice shows up.
Well, me and Grizz, we're doing a rendition of Get Lucky? Yeah, Get Lucky by Daft Punk and Pharrell Williams. We're doing it as Vox and Valentino, so that'd be interesting.
Actually, yeah, that would suit them quite well now I think about it.
Yeah, I'm putting some artwork up on Twitter soon. It was drawn by the person that does my Lilith. Her name's Bubble. Well, she's got 2 channels. One's Bubble Dubs, which is what she does her dubs, and the other one's Bubble Arts. And she does this soft kind of like, anime sort of style art. And I got her to draw Vox and Valentino with instruments, but their heads are Daft Punk's helmets. It looks
good.
really good.
I like that. That's good.
Actually,
I've actually always wanted to like.
Send it. Yeah, hang on.
I've always been wanting to like try and like buy a replica of one of Daft Punk's helmets.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I very much like sort of like masked and face sort of helmet designs in a lot of stuff, so I just like to have a replica. I already have the mask that Wrench from Watch Dogs wears, and it has light up eyes and everything, so I'm starting my collection with that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I'd always like to like have a Daft Punk replica as in memoriam, I'll say. Oh, let me have a look. That's too good. That's too good. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was watching her draw and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was like, I'm gonna have to stop watching because I'm gonna spoil it for myself. So I disappeared and she sent it to me. I was like that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll say to chat, you'll be pleased when you get to see this one because it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, as a musical artist, for the electronic side, I always wanted to have some kind of like, anonymous persona. So that if I ever did live gigs, I could like hide, my face or something. So that way I could just be an instrument rather than being the person and the instrument sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that was what kind of like was another thing I really respected about Daft Punk, is because their choice to make themselves like as anonymous as possible in how they presented themselves was like you got a sense of who it was, but then it allowed you to focus more on the music rather than the people.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I find in a lot of more popular artists nowadays that people are focused so much on the person singing rather than the actual song.
Yeah.
I mean, example like the furore surrounding people like Taylor Swift and all that
Katy
nonsense.
Perry, all them lot, yeah.
Yeah. Katy Perry's a really sad example. I remember when she first came out, I was like a genuine fan when she was doing sort of like rock music.
Yeah.
And I cannot stand her now. I genuinely can't.
No, I understand that. I remember when she first came out and all that kind of stuff, and she was like, oh, she's quite edgy and all that, and then she just started going the other way, and I was like, oh no, I'm done now.
Like Taylor Swift did the same thing. She came along and she was sort of doing like these country ballads, and then she just devolved into my boyfriend sucks. Here's the 5-minute song about why.
And here's another 10 tracks that are pretty much the same song but just with slightly different lyrics. Oh, and repeat the same word over and over and over in the chorus.
Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do.
Yeah.
It's even worse because one of the things I was learning when I was learning music production is that there was a module in there that was about the business side of the music industry.
Yeah.
And it just gave me more reason to kind of really hate Taylor Swift. There was a big furore about when Spotify was starting to kick off. I also know this is a giant tangent, but bear with me. And it was going to the amount of money the artists usually get paid per stream on something like Spotify, and it was a ridiculous amount. It was like to 4 decimal places pence per stream, right? Oh. And at the time that was happening, Taylor Swift said, I'm not having my music on there because it's not fair to artists. I'm not getting paid appropriately from what I'm doing elsewhere. And to the average person aware of that will think, oh, that's, that makes sense. But when you actually added up all the maths about all the music that Taylor Swift was earning for just streaming, you found out that with all of the albums that she had on there and all the songs that she had on there, she was earning in excess of around $300,000 a year from just streaming.
Yeah.
Not including
sales.
Yeah, not including the album sales, not including merch things. And she had the gall to complain she wasn't being paid enough, and I was like, that's more than most people ever have as an annual salary, you stuck-up lady. Shut up.
Oh my god. Oh dear. But yeah, no, I agree with that. Oof.
Yeah, the music industry is a horrible thing, ladies and gentlemen, in case no one was aware. It really is.
Yeah, it can be very... I mean, the competitive side of it is, that's hard enough as it is.
Yeah, and especially now because music's so easy to access, you've got all these new artists that are competing against, 50 years worth of previous music that anyone can listen to at any time. It's like, how do you compete against that? But the thing is, it's like, as I've said earlier, when I make my music, I don't make it with the sole express of, this'll get me this many plays or anything like that. And I don't monetize my videos for that moment. I'm just glad that people are able to share the creativity that comes from it and enjoy it from that. That means more to me, personally.
Yeah,
now,
I get the feeling that you're a bit like me in that respect, that, really you just want to put the music out there so that people can hear it. Not so that you can get something from it, because you put a lot of care and thought into what you're making, and you have to like it yourself to put it out, because you don't just put any old stuff out. So in that respect, if you got 1 to say 100,000 views, you'd be happy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I do it just because I do have a group of people who like what I make, and hearing their reactions to what I do means more to me than anything I could possibly do in terms of just a number, which ultimately doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Now, if I was earning $300,000 a year from streaming music, then I might change my tune about that. But as it stands right now, I think, especially in terms of the music industry, or music in general, is that people are so focused on trying to be popular rather than just making something genuinely good.
Yeah.
And I think that's been lost a little bit in the coming years, so I just try and counteract that a little bit.
Another thing, actually, I was going to pick up on is, now, I respect all artists, I respect all musicians, people that can create music or make music or write music or even sing and all that business, or even put them both together. I have that, respect for them, because, you need talent for it, and patience and creativity and all of that. But one of the things that does usually get my back up quite a bit is when everyone does the same thing, right? Because they know it's popular. For example, and again, nothing against any of these artists, right? Because I love all artists that do anything, because, creativity is a great thing. But when everyone did their cover of Addict, everyone went in the heavy metal way. I must have seen, I don't know, 12 to 15 heavy metal covers of Addict. I mean, what made you go the route that you did? Because you went the hard style, and no one else had done that.
Well, it was partially just because I really like hard style, and I felt that it was a chance, because as an originally electronic song, it was going to work best in another electronic style. And that wasn't in a way that I felt like the metal covers or anything were being saturated to a point. It was just a case of that this is a perspective on that song that no one's really taken before. Yeah. So I wanted to try that. And Silverhound himself actually did notice it and say it was amazing.
I saw his comment.
So it was just a case of okay, that's made my year for that alone.
That was pretty cool. It was about a minute and a half in, I think, and then he commented, didn't he? He was like, "This is awesome," or something like that in capital words.
That's the power of distorted bass drums, ladies and gentlemen. They will get you places. But I do definitely agree in terms of trends catching on. I noticed it quite a lot with more popular artists that we've mentioned earlier. Like, for example, when Lady Gaga first came onto the scene, no one was really doing sort of like electronic pop in the same way she was. Then everybody started doing it, and it got boring. Daft Punk initially started off the wave of like house music. They then came back with things like Random Access Memories, where it was mostly acoustic instruments. Then everyone started trying to copy that, and it was it's the only problem that.
It's like when someone like starts doing well with something, other people try and jump onto that same bandwagon to see if they can get the same success. And that's the thing that, really, that's the thing that gets my back up. That. Because, I mean, like, when I did Addict, I did it as synthwave, because, again, electronic, it seemed like it was the right kind of route. It didn't have the same power as the EDM one that Silverhound did, and obviously it's completely different to your one, in pace and everything. Which is great, because then they both have their own, all three of them have their own sort of unique sounds to it. And all the metal ones do as well. Nothing against any of those. But again, it just seemed like everyone was going in that route. But, what was I saying before that? Because I've lost myself now. Where somebody does something and, it shows popularity because it's different, because it's unique, and everyone's like, oh, this is really nice. And everyone else, other artists are like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to have a go at doing that. Because it's popular, and it will make me popular.
I absolutely noticed that when like Deep House started taking off as a trend in EDM. It was like, bands like Hot Sinks 82 and stuff like that. They did like one song that was like, look, we're using drum machines from the 90s now. And then everyone was like, let's us do that. And then everyone started doing it. And it just got so boring. Because then, like, if you listen to like any sort of, a stream of music on the radio, all you would hear would just be like 4 tracks, and it's like, I don't know where one started and one ended at this point, because it's just so familiar. I noticed that a lot with hardcore, particularly as a genre. Yeah. Every single track in that genre now uses the same kick drum sample. I am convinced of it. I've heard so many of it, or so much of it, I should say, to be more grammatically correct, that every single one of them is using the same kick drum sample. And it annoys me to no end, because I can tell it's the same one every single time I listen to it, and I'm like, do something different,
Well, I mean, here's another couple of examples, actually. Pendulum, for example. Pendulum came about, they started doing like a bit of a mix, hardcore, sort of like, but in an EDM style, but the dum-tsh, dum-tsh, dum-tsh.
Yeah,
and everyone started using the same exact beat pattern.
Yeah,
after that, and it was just like, oh my god, now it's boring. I mean, even going to the DMC5 soundtrack, Devil Trigger, it sounds like Pendulum
there as well.
to me.
It's there as well, yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always try, because like, I don't necessarily delve into that sort of style of music, but I have had a little go. But even then, I try and change the beat pattern. Even if the beats are kind of similar in like, instrument sound quality, I try and change the pattern so it has its own unique sort of sound to it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Also, because I only just noticed, because again, I'm keeping like mostly an eye on just the conversation, but looking at the chat every so often. Novice, with your donation to these wonderful people that are hosting me, you're very welcome for your support with that, because by all means they deserve it for the work that they do as well. And I'm glad that you find inspiration in what all of us as a group do. So thanks for that.
Yeah. we do. Oh, excuse me, I have to clear my throat. Pardon me. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, thank you for the donation. It's much appreciated. I don't know why it didn't notify me, because I usually get a ringing in my ears. It tells me that I've had a donation. It didn't pop up. So I do apologize I didn't see it until just now. So, but thank you for the support. We very much appreciate it.
We're too busy shitting on the music industry.
Yeah, yeah. Now I've got someone that talks music. We can really go to town. But no, one of the other people that I was really thinking of as an example, which really, did piss me off a lot, was somebody that I actually quite liked growing up in like early 2000s, and even I think they started they weren't in the 90s. No, it was early 2000s onwards, and that's Coldplay. They were I know they had like depressing sound, but a lot of their music was really good, like Birds, all that kind of stuff, and Clocks and Speed of Sound, I think it was. But like, and even Yellow But then suddenly they came out and they did all this kind of like festival dance music, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I remember there was.
And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. What the hell's happening?
Yeah, I know they collaborated on or they used Avicii as one of their producers for one of the songs when they came out from that, and I was like, this is such a strange genre twist. It's a bit like when Muse suddenly came back and it's like, we do dubstep now. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, that's another one. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some dubstep, I can't even say the word, dubstep tracks that aren't that bad. There's a lot that really hurt your ears as well because it's just a load of mess. But it's a very strange genre for like a kind of, I don't know, indie rock band to go from that into dubstep. I mean, that's very strange.
I mean, I appreciate dubstep just because some of the things that you can do with those sounds shows you a very competent sense of sound engineering. Yeah, and I've always appreciated people who can engineer things that well. But you are right that there are some tracks that veer into more, this is just feedback. This isn't music at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've even had a little dabble at it myself, but I can't do dubstep. I do something else, which is metal step. So it's easier to make because there's more music involved than the design part. I can do a little bit of it, but I'm not that, versed in it. But it usually comes out fairly well. But yeah, I mean, like these, and again, I do all different genres, but there's no illusion that I'm doing anything, in a particular style, and that's my style, and then I change because something's popular. I just try and do all styles I can to see which ones I'm better at. That's if anything, when I've been doing like past music work that hasn't been related to the covers I've been doing, I've always been sort of gravitating back towards the older sounds of certain genres, like late 2000s hardcore, or like, as you mentioned earlier, like early 90s trance, because I think those are like such really nice sounds from eras in dance music where we were starting to explore more of what electronic can do. I mean, you go back and listen to Saltwater by Chicane. Oh yeah, easily one of like the best trance tracks ever, and it still sounds amazing even though it's almost like 22 years old or something stupid like that. I mean, a lot of those tracks from the 90s, I mean, you've got Tokime, and then you had even Sandstorm to a certain degree. I know everyone uses it as a meme and it's very sort of iconic, but when that came out, it's a very pumping sort of like makes you want to jump up and down type track, and when that first came out, everyone lost their minds.
Yeah, Sandstorm's a rock banger, mate. It absolutely is, though. God, yeah. It's every so often, like, because I have giant playlists of like a lot of these older songs, like one of them will just come on and it'll be weirdly nostalgic to me even, and then I'll look back at like the year it came out and I'm like, oh no, has it really been on? Like just recently, because one of my favorite record labels, Tidy Tracks, recently came back after they disappeared for a while, and they've started re-releasing all their old catalog.
Oh, right.
And they were kind of pioneers of like the hard house sound in like the early 2000s. And there was one track they did on there. It was the UK Gold remix of Real Freaks. Oh, and right. that's like easily one of my favorite hard house tracks ever made. It came out in the year 2000, and I was like, oh, I was like literally 7 years old when this came out. This is terrible.
Well, I mean, I'm very old school. I used to listen to some really, because I mean, like, I'm considerably old. Well, I say considerably old. I'm not that much older, but I'm a little bit older.
I'm in my late 60s, didn't you know?
60s, oh, me poor back and bones.
Saltfield when I was a lad.
I used to listen to a lot of IDM and acid way back in the early 90s. Everyone else was listening to like 2 Unlimited and stuff like that, but I was listening to like Aphex Twin and Square Pusher and stuff like that. And I haven't listened to that stuff for years. And then like, I'll go through like my catalogue of music that I have on my hard drive because I don't really use the streaming services. And I'll find it and I'll think, oh, I'll have a little listen, and it will remind me like when I was younger and stuff, and the good old days and stuff. But then I think of like, what they made and listen to each individual part and think, you know what, that's real classic stuff there. And I have tried to make some of that myself, but with like the way that they like for example, Aphex Twin, he used to design his own instrument sounds, so like they would be unique to himself. And that way, when he'd make tracks, nobody could remake them unless they remade the instrument sounds themselves.
It's a little bit like when it comes to Acid. I'm convinced that Acid is like the best electronic sound ever made, and it came about from a second-hand unit that commercially failed.
Yeah.
And yet people took that and were like, if we apply a bit of distortion and we do this to it, we end up creating a glorious noise, and it just went from there. And it pioneered like a whole genre. I mean, for people who don't know what Acid is, listen to the nightclub song that plays during Blade. You'll know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably like the most famous use of it, I could say. But yeah, that entire sound. And people still use it to this day because it's just that good.
Oh, yeah.
And a thing I really appreciate about early electronic music is because it was harder to create, you had to be more creative in how you made certain noises or how you process certain things.
Yeah.
Which I respect a lot more. Also, another donation I just saw.
Just saw that as well.
You're being too kind. How long did it take for you guys to figure out the right tone for characters like Angel and Lucifer? Well, for Angel, it's just a matter of watching the source material and just trying to emulate it as best you can. I mean, Michael Kovac himself has kind of explained how he performs it in terms of, a slight pressure on your throat to tighten up your voice a little bit, and then how you say certain words, that's easier. With our Lucifers, I imagine it's just how we've personally interpreted the character based on what little we know of him and his visual design.
Yes.
Although we're kind of in like a similar route, is that we think he's a very well-spoken individual, more than any other, so we've kind of similar mindsets for that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, with obviously with Angel, you explained that. I mean, I don't do Angel anyway, but a lot of people use similar techniques. I think Grizzy does something very similar with his voice when he does Angel Dust.
He puts on his throat.
But
it's literally what Michael said he did to do it, so when people found out that tidbit, it became easier to try and replicate it in other people.
Yeah, see, when I do it, I just sound like I just sound foolish. So I'm not even attempting it. I tried it before. I sound like one of the minions from fucking Despicable Me or something. So I can't.
Oh God, I thought I'd erased those things from my memory.
Oh, a friend of mine hates them as well. But it's funny because she likes the Egg Boys, but she doesn't like the Minions. I suppose they are different. I suppose
the Egg Boys are like superior in every way because they're actually just not a series of catchphrases and annoying merchandise, which is really nice.
Yeah, I suppose that is true.
Yet.
Although,
Yet.
But as in regards to the Lucifer voice, it's funny how I came about with it because I imagined he'd have a British voice, simply because typical things. When you see a fantasy movie of any sort that has either angels or anything, even if it's just elves and stuff, typically people that write those movies usually get British sound, vocals in there, or they get British actors, or they get American actors that can do British accents and stuff like that. America. So my idea was that he'd have a British accent anyway, because he's like an ancient being, and obviously America wasn't around back then. I know we didn't have the same accent back then either, but Anglo-Saxon is older. But what was the other thing? I actually previewed the voice by doing a drunk Lucifer story. It was the first video I ever did as Lucifer, where he's drunk and he reads the Bible and basically just rips the shit out of it. I thought I'll try and get away with this to see how much I can get away with. But I didn't push it too hard. But people loved the actual way I told the story, they just didn't like the voice. So I was like, alright. So I did 8 different voices, because I got like some feedback from people in the comments section telling me what voice they expected Lucifer to have. So I did 8 different voices, put that as a video, and asked people which voice they wanted out of the 8. And the one I do now is the one that people chose.
Yeah, so it's like you actually had like here's a thing that I'm thinking of doing to get an idea of what it was. I haven't actually had feedback like that for my thing. I would say the one that most people probably know me for in terms of unique voices would be Valentino, and the way I do his voice was a complete happy accident. The insect sort of like buzzing thing that I have on his voice is actually something that if you're altering vocals you want to avoid at all costs, because in any other situation you do not want that buzz there. It's a result of a time stretcher which uses a monophonic algorithm.
Oh yeah.
And to basically not be far too technical about it, it essentially tries to keep the way the voice is spoken whilst altering the speed of it. But using that particular algorithm to do it, though, creates that rasping sort of buzzing effect on normal speech if you do it too severely. And I was just messing around with the settings, and I heard that and I was thinking, that works. Because I really wanted to emphasize the fact that he was like an insect and a demon rather than other people I'd heard who were just giving him, you know, what you would class as the pimp voice, which comes to mind when you first look at him. Yeah. I wanted to emphasize the demon part of him more. And I tried that, and people were like, why does he sound like he's talking in my ear? And I'm like, because I sound engineered to be it that way.
Wow.
It was pretty great. So yeah, but I never like took feedback for any ideas I have for other voices. I just thought, this is what I personally think sounded okay, and I will just roll with that and see what people think. Because I understand, like, it's nice to kind of go for something that other people would find interesting. But my process for thinking up voices for characters that don't have official voices yet is, what do I think personally fits this character more? Because then it allows me more creative freedom rather than trying to restrict myself by how someone else thinks they may think it.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that asking for feedback is, you know, you should never do that, because obviously it's nice to have some sort of direction.
Yeah.
But with voices like Valentino and Vox and, you know, to an extent Lucifer, I've mainly stuck to what I think sounds best for them personally rather than what others have tried to do.
Yeah. Well, see, that was the thing. When I first did the voice, it was kind of an experiment. I mean, it was mainly because people were requesting me to do it. And I thought about doing it anyway. And I tried thinking quickly, and I thought, you know, if I give him this voice, let's see what... Because he was like... Because I know he was short. So I was trying to give him kind of like an impy voice. But then people really didn't take to it. But I already had a secondary idea in my mind anyway. And when I did the one that people chose, it was one of the voices I actually wanted to do. Although it has evolved so much since when I first started using that voice. It's changed so much into what it is now.
Yeah.
It's a lot more exaggerated now and goofy. Which is kind of what I was trying to go for. I was trying to go for a goofy sound.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine Lucifer kind of has that personality. I mean, I've only ever really voiced him when he's saying serious dialogue in any sort of dubs and stuff and things. But I imagine that just because of who he is, that he would have that sort of playful, almost Willy Wonka-esque sort of...
And that's sort of that was kind of the direction I was going. That sarcasm and, you know, that kind of off-the-wall... He thinks it's funny, but no one really gets it type stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, talking of funny, here's something, and a lot of people ask this. Well, they're always asking me anyway, and I've run out. But what is your best dad joke?
Oh, God.
Nah.
You see, my actual dad has told so many over the years, and they're the caliber of joke where, like, imagine if jokes are on like a scale of like awful to good, and the jokes that my dad has told over the years have got to the scale where they are so bad they break it and it resets to being funny. That's how terrible they are.
Yeah, I'm actually getting to that level at the moment. It's kind of scary.
I mean, you know, the ones that he always used to say all the time to me were usually just the case of like, oh, I'm hungry. Hi, hungry. I'm dad. But, you know, that's kind of like standard rubbish. But the one that I remember was, I think I must have been maybe like 7 or something, and we were all going out on like a trip to get... Me and my brother were having our hair cut, and I think we were like doing some of the shopping. Then we came back and we met up together at this thing, and Dad asked, "Oh, so what are you gonna do next?" And I can't remember if it was me and my brother who said this. We said, "Oh, we're gonna go get our hair cut," and my dad just responded with, "Which one?"
Oh God.
Oh, it was excruciating. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, that moment where like he takes Like you see an opportunity, you just have to seize it.
Yeah.
I could sense that from him when he made that one.
Oh dear. Yes, this is gonna be a winner. Whoa, everyone's gonna think I'm splendid. And then you tell it, and the delivery, and it's perfect, but the laughter's like absent. You're like, I thought it was funny. None of you got sense of humours.
It is amusing, Father. You have implied that we are only having a single haircut, when in fact it is all of it. Very good.
Oh dear. But yeah, I mean, I used to get that all the time. People are always asking for dad jokes and stuff. And then I evolved it. I was like, you know, I'm fed up with the dad jokes. I'm going to tell angel jokes. And now I've exhausted those. So, you know, I've got none left. None at all.
I'm sure people will come up with more. I mean, people stockpile jokes for, like, when the situation's right. I remember... I'm not going to say the actual joke in question because it's in very poor taste, even though I find it hilarious. But I remember specifically, I think it was like at my secondary school prom, and it was the day that Michael Jackson died, right? So it was like big news everywhere. And I remember getting picked up by my uncle from the place there, and he said, "Oh, have you heard Michael Jackson's dead?" And we're like, "Oh, that's interesting." And he said, people are already spreading jokes about it. Like minutes after it got announced, people already spread it. And he told me this particular one, which it made me howl, but it was so bad.
I've heard a fair few of them. But that's the thing, that's another thing over here. I don't know if you guys in the US do this, but over here, I mean, it's not that people don't show respect for when people die, it's just they just can't resist themselves making jokes to lighten the mood.
Yeah, so, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, you shouldn't say that, but because you shouldn't say it, it makes it funnier. Yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing with Princess Diana and so many other people that, you know, oh man. But I mean, again, I'd heard like 100 like Michael Jackson jokes, so I've probably heard the one that you heard.
It's like I'm certain that they were just waiting for the right time to spring it on someone so that when he actually died, they could say, "I've got the perfect one for this one," and then they just like unleashed it, and that was causing a bit of froth because it was like, he's probably not even cold yet. That's so mean, and people were like, "No, we're just going to keep saying it anyway."
Yeah. Oh dear, but there must be someone out there like just writing these jokes down somewhere. It's like, right, he's gonna go at some point. You know what I mean? It might be another 10 years, but this joke will still be good. You know?
Yeah, I remember there was one I remember hearing on TV. I can't remember the show it was, but I think it was like they were talking about what they were going to do for Margaret Thatcher's funeral.
Oh, God.
and the joke was like, it's going to be the first time they fire the 21 gun salute into the coffin. I was like, this was like about 3 days after she actually died, and it was like they couldn't resist.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the newspapers are just as bad. I mean, do you remember when Sean Connery, when he passed on, the newspapers, it wasn't exactly, you know how they make puns, like the Sun newspaper, for example, that's the worst one.
Oh, yeah. They
had a pun for Sean Connery dying. I was like, that is kind of, I mean, they could have waited a year, do you know what I mean? It didn't have to be the day after he died, they put this bloody pun on the front page, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Terrible. It was funny though, but the thing is, it was just like, should I laugh? I mean, because I'm not being disrespectful, but it is kind of a funny joke.
No, I've always maintained that, like, I don't think that humor should really be. I mean, I'll put it this way: it's probably partially the reason why Hazbin and Helliver have still been funny to me, even when they've had points where I'm like, Helliver Hazbin. When both of them have like done jokes, and even if the situations that they're in, especially like some of the Helliver episodes, haven't been as high quality as I'd like, some of the jokes still land for me because I feel that as long as the joke isn't targeting someone like maliciously, then the subject of the joke shouldn't really be like censored or covered up or like something that you're like, oh, you shouldn't say that. Because, I mean, we have enough misery happening in the world right now. We should be able to have a laugh at some of the awful things happening. And that's making fun of, like, the actual awful thing, not the people who deal with it or anything like that. And I feel that, to me personally, it makes a lot of things lighter. So, you know, in Hazbin, you've got a lot of jokes that deal, even just, like, you know, not, like, super, like, overtly or adult-oriented, but you've got a lot of jokes that make fun of people being crushed and do drugs and like all this other stuff. And it's like, well, that's fine, because in the context of the show, it's funny, and you should have that sort of dark subject humor because it shows that you're mature enough to deal with these things in your writing. And I just don't want it to come to a point where, like, eventually we have jokes where it's like this particular subject can't be spoken about, or it can't be done this, or can't be done that, because it limits things. And again, as I said, if it's like maliciously attacking like an individual or something, that's obviously a step too far.
Oh, of course,
But I feel the subject of a joke, even if it is dark or if it's important, it's like a bit like some of the Sean Connery puns or whatever. It's like, you know, sometimes those things happen and it just is funny, so have a laugh at it while you can.
Yeah. That was the thing. I mean, it's like, it was funny, and it was one of those situations where I was like, I don't know, I mean, like, you know, I want to laugh because it is a funny situation with a funny joke, but I mean, obviously, whether it's in bad taste or not, it's kind of like ballsy of a newspaper to just flat out go, right, boom, there you go, front page, there's your joke, and it's Sean Connery that died for, you know, yesterday or whatever. And I was just like, I can't believe they did that, but then I can believe they did that, you know, it's the sun. Well,
if there's one thing I've learned about like newspapers and the media is that just don't listen to them at this point.
Yeah,
they're all monsters.
They are, they really are. But you know, it can be entertaining in some respects. You know, some of the ridiculous stuff that they say or talk about, and you know, and a lot of it's rubbish anyway. But yeah.
I got like really deeply serious on something, and that was interesting. No, this is how we should conduct ourselves morally going forward. Right, back to funny sex demons, haha!
Yeah. Have you ever done any collabs with any other, like, YouTube channels that feature comic dubs as their main focus at all before?
Not really. I mean, I've been in contact with you, obviously. I've been in contact with some people from the Slice of Hell group who do really good work as well.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
I haven't actually done any work with them or you as of yet. But who knows? I would always be open to doing stuff with other people because I find that whole process really fun. It's just that I haven't done so yet.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by your sound design, and I always am, dude, by every time I listen to any of you. I mean, like, when we watched A Day in the Afterlife, I was blown away by the sound, because it immersed so much that I could feel everything sort of like on a 360 scale. I mean, I gave that one a go myself, but again, my sound design was nowhere near yours.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Alistair one is that it's easily the most complex subject or project, I should say, I've ever done, purely because there's so much in that comic that's based around what you see rather than what is being said until the last few pages. So I knew that if I want to sell this as like something you can listen to and watch at the same time, then everything else about it needs to match. So when you're going through every scene, you need to be aware of, in terms of general rules for sound design, you need to be aware of what is the space this scene is happening in, what would be the background noise first, because then that establishes the ambience of a scene. Then you start working on very specific actions such as footsteps, movements of clothes if there's like a particular movement a character does, and then you add in processing on, you know, background noise if like they're far away, if they need to be panned left and right and stuff. It's like a step-by-step process of how you approach each individual scene. And the Alistair one was actually 5 different projects. Like, each section of the comic was its own project that I then stitched together at the end, because there was just so much work involved and so many different sound effects to get it working, that I had to do them all separately and then collaborate them all together. Otherwise, I would end up having like a project where I'm pretty sure that my software won't be able to cope with like the hundreds of variations for footsteps and radio noise and all this other stuff that was going on. And then that's not mentioning all the voice acting afterwards, which then needs to be added in and treated in the same way too.
Yeah. I had the same thing actually, where I've made like some comic dubs that have been too complex for my editing software to actually cope with. I had to split it into like several like track channels and then put those in separately afterwards.
Yeah, it's I've noticed like there's a lot of people when they've done particular sound design things is that they'll try and do it mostly in either video editing software or something of that nature. But because I use the sequencing software that I use for music production, which also has the ability to play back videos and everything like that in case I'm doing something to video, I find it's much easier to organize things that way because the program is designed to handle a lot of sound.
Yeah.
Whereas with video editing, you're kind of clashing with you're limited in functionality in that way, and that's just how I've always done it.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense, and it's funny actually because with my music production, that's always how I've sort of like approached that. Even if it had like ambience or a scene or something, I always do all the sounds and everything all in the music program and organize it that way. But it was only yesterday I was talking to somebody that uses a music program to clean up their demos and said, why don't you use your music program to do your dubs? And I was like, I never actually thought about doing that. So, I mean, that's something that I'm actually going to be doing going forward myself to try and get a better quality.
Yeah, the process for doing it, I find it's just easier to handle because then you can have separate mixer channels for specific sound effects. You have, like, I'll use the Alistair one, for example. I had individual channels for his voice, his movements, his footsteps, and his radio noise, and any demonic effects that were on top of that. So there were 5 different channels that I could control individually and alter things of separately, depending on what I needed him to do in a particular scene, which then made it easier to make alterations or make it sound more natural because I just had more control than I would otherwise. And that's how I've kind of approached any sort of dub or music project I've done. Every individual sort of vocal component or every single sound effect component, whether it is, right, here's a channel just for what will be playing in the background as like scene space, or here is something where it's like, for most of my outdoor sections in the city when it's set in hell, there's a mixture of like wind effects and then like pitched down crowds to make it sound like demonic howling, and those are combined together into one. It's easier for organization.
On that one as well. I did pretty much the same thing with that. Like had a separate like wind effect sort of thing with like a ambient city background and some like chattering and stuff as well.
Yeah, it's anything you can to make it seem more natural. And there's also an appropriate thing that I think sound designers also need to be aware of, is that you also need to know when not to do sound.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed a lot, especially in poor sound design scenes when it's like in movies and stuff, is that it's very tempting to try and do too much. And, it's because you want to try and make it as realistic as possible, but sometimes being too realistic isn't what you're after.
Yeah. If you're set in a particular scene, you might want like less sound, so you feel more drawn into what's happening rather than hearing what you would expect to happen.
Yeah, and like another example, in most of my comic dubs, when I'm trying to do the gesture of someone moving, I always have a separate effects channel that is basically just nothing but sound effects of clothes rustling, either in a quick manner or a slow manner or rubbing material against each other. If that was being done to video, most of the time those effects wouldn't be as prevalent because you don't need to have them in every single scene because clothes don't make a lot of noise all the time whenever you're moving around, and it's just not necessary when you can watch animation. In a comic thing where it's still pictures, you need to emphasize that movement so the listener can get an idea of, oh, he just did that and it led to this bit here in the next panel, etc. As an example of the opposite, I've actually been asked to be a sound designer for 2 different projects that are going forward. And in those cases, they will be sending me finished video to then do the sound to. And in that case, I will not need to do as much because what you're seeing visually will kind of fill in the blanks for you. It's weird how the brain works like that.
I've got a curious question, actually. I was thinking about this earlier. So with your music that you make, what program do you use to compose?
Every single thing I've ever made, whether it's dubs or music, uses FL Studio 20. But a lot of the particular sounds have been mostly external plugins that I've imported into the program. For me, the actual program you use to arrange it all, it doesn't really matter what that is, whether it's like Pro Tools, Logic, FL Studio, Cubase, nothing like that. Usually what matters is how you effectively use it. Because to me, FL's easier to navigate and it does things in a way that I can easily organize because I know where everything is. But most of the sounds I make are using external plugins like, you know, June 3, Nexus, Homicide, all these really powerful units that don't come with FL as standard. But really, if you know your way around any sort of sequencing program, then if it works best for you, then that's usually how it should be. I don't like it when people say, oh, you should use this one because it's this, because really it's all subjective. It's like what works best for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've used FL in the past. I've used various different programs. What I'm currently using now is, you probably know this program, Reason 11 by Propellerhead.
Man, the last time I used Reason, I was on Reason 5. That's how long it's been since I've used Reason.
It's funny, I tell you what, it's really funny, because I just literally, in the past month, upgraded from Reason 5 to Reason 11, so...
Hey, similar jump, there we go.
Yeah. And it's simply because of how expensive the goddamn program was. I was like, I could never afford it. But, you know, with recent situations and with the lockdown, I can't go out and spend my money anywhere. So I was like, do you know what? I've got the money. And so I really should upgrade this program because, you know, it deserves a bit of a boost now. So I've jumped to 11. And that program really works well. I mean, it's one of those programs where you look at it face on, you're like, what the hell's going on here? There's like two windows. What am I supposed to be doing? With FL Studio. With Reason 11, there's 3 windows now. So you've got one for your devices and your rack, and then you've got one for your mixer, which is separate because they separated the mixer from it. And then you've got your sequence, like your score. But I find it really easy to navigate and use now, and I can do things with it like that people... You know, you'd have to use the program for a long time to work out how to do these different things, combining different devices and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, that's what I use. And I seem to get on all right.
Yeah. I found usually the visual interfaces of these sorts of programs, they look more confusing than they actually are.
Yeah.
Like, on the most recent stream I did, I basically recreated One More Time by Daft Punk by saying, this how you do it and this how you do it. And... I got really close, and I was going through step by step, and there were people in the chat at the time saying like, "Whoa, this looks so complex and complicated," and yet obviously from my perspective it isn't, and I'm pretty sure that anyone who spent the time learning the ins and outs of a program could do the same thing. It looks daunting just because it's unfamiliar, but once you know what individual pieces do and what their function are, then anyone can learn it.
Oh yeah,
you just have to be determined enough. And you know, I might have like an advantage because I have a degree in the thing, but anyone can get to my level with enough practice, and that's definitely not bigging me up whatsoever. There's plenty of people out there who are better than me at this.
That actually brings me back to the other thing we were talking about, collabs and stuff. Aside from videos, I would actually like to collab with you on a musical project at some point as well, because I think that would be really good.
I would be down for that if we could find a good song to do.
Oh, definitely.
Either original or otherwise.
Yeah. Well,
become the next Daft Punk.
As well as I'll handle the helmet side of it. That'll be my contribution to start.
Awesome. That's fine. You seem to have a better eye for it than me. I'll probably end up just getting 2 cardboard boxes and some marker pens.
That's still a helmet. It'll do as a start.
Oh well, we're coming up to 2 hours here, so I think we've covered quite a lot. Let's just see if there's any questions in the chat before I decide to yeet us all to the void.
Yeah, last chance, people, if you've got a burning question in your pocket.
Yes, I have a burning question in my pocket.
Oh my.
Right in your pocket, Angel, I'm sure.
Right in my pocket, okay. So, my burning question is... You get that?
Yeah,
that was utterly obscene, and I hope you feel very ashamed for asking that to a distinguished guest such as myself.
Yeah, it's just... If anyone's in the chat wants translating, he said... Just in case you didn't get that.
Yeah.
It was pretty hot, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie.
Meet me out back. I'll give you a discount.
Deal.
Discount. Oh my. Okay, what's this? What was the Alistair request you liked best doing?
This was from the requesting I did recently. The one I liked doing most was basically it was one where someone asked me to do sort of like Alistair doing an introduction to a radio show, and it sounds just like you know your demon host here, and entertainment and stuff like that. But the reason I liked it most was because in the background of him doing that, I have me muffled and screaming, and then at the very end, just before he says "stay tuned," I've got him like hitting a knife and like slashing him open. And I'm not sure if like anyone caught that, but I really liked putting that together because it was just like, I need to show that Alistair is the psychopath that people seem to forget he is sometimes.
Yeah, exactly, and that was something that we touched on. Like everyone makes all these they make all these comics, and like they unpaint the picture basically that Alistair is a murderous psychopath. And make him a happy-go-lucky, lovable chap, And he might have an award-winning personality, but he is still a murderer.
Yeah, I don't mind it when people come up with alternate interpretations of certain aspects of characters because it means that they've got more depth.
Oh yeah,
it's just that it's always nice to just think back and just remember he's the radio demon for a reason. He's not a nice guy.
Yeah, because what it was, Blissy's got a video. Is it on your channel now, or are you still working on it?
Still working on it.
Oh, still working on it, and it's very dark. It's.
Oh, which one?
No, you did put it on your channel, didn't you? The creepy one where Alistair bites.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
See, I like that because like people in the chat weren't expecting it. They were like, "Oh, it's Alistair. He's lovely. Yeah, you take him to meet your gran."
He's a lovely old sort, isn't he? Oh, lovely.
Tea and crumpets, which is by the way.
I've been planning that one.
Yeah,
I've been planning.
You never have crumpet for tea.
No, you don't. It never happens.
Scones.
She says scones.
I was gonna say.
That's more accurate.
I've been planning that comic since last year. I brought it up to Hazbin's, attention. I'm like, hey, I want to do this one. It's like different. I like it because everybody always gets those lovey-dovey Charlister ships or whatever, and I like the fact that it's different, that it's dark, because you can imagine, especially a person who's a killer and a cannibal, something that you would imagine him doing instead of lovey-dovey.
Yeah. So yeah,
I also just liked how I admitted that my favorite one to do in the request thing was literally just I got to pretend to murder someone. That was fun.
Yeah, well, everyone's got their fantasies. Bah.
Wait, I got a question for you. Do you say "oh blimey"?
Never have I ever said that in my life.
It's not. The term is just blimey, but it's more of a southern term. More southerners say blimey. People are. What is the term that most of the is used?
The closest equivalent you'd get up here would be bloody hell.
Bloody hell, yeah.
Instead of saying blimey, it's like, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. Bah.
Oh bloody hell.
Bloody hell. Yeah, that's about right. Ugh. Alright, okay, well, I think that will wrap it all up. Hello, Shadow Melee, and screaming in pain, apparently. Okay, so, do you want to do a plug or anything? Advertisement? Say anything?
Oh my god, guys!
Well, if people know who I am, I've obviously got a YouTube channel. On there will be links to a Twitter that I occasionally use, and I only got a couple of weeks ago because I'm not usually a big social media person, but follow me on there if you want. There's also a SoundCloud page where you can listen to all the song covers that I've done, which have most of the voice acting and stuff removed, and also all the past music I've made for about 8 years before that. If you're ever curious to delve down that rabbit hole,
definitely check that stuff out. It's an excellent listen.
And I guess all I can really say as a final thing is thanks for shoving me on here in front of all these people.
Yes, well, thank you for coming on here and letting all these people have a little delve in. I think I've learnt a lot.
Yeah, we've had a good rip at the music industry. We've talked about
that was good fun.
Things that delved almost too seriously, and we've also concluded that Ryan Cooper would be a good blitz.
Oh yeah. Ryan Cooper or Bradley. Oh god,
Bradley Reynolds.
Reynolds, that's it. I couldn't remember his surname. Alrighty. Right, I'll wrap this up. Thank you everyone in the chat for joining. I hope we managed to get round to everything that everyone was curious about. And if you have any more questions, just put them in the comments section. I'm sure we'll get to see it, and I'll relay them maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Possibly. Who knows? And stay tuned for more stuff in the future. Please go over to Paranoid DJ's channel. It's in the description at the top. Show your support. Like, subscribe, and hit that goddamn bell, even though YouTube doesn't know how to use the bloody thing. And, yeah, come back again next time. Arrivederci.
Bye.